Now, the construction of these Hobbywings is actually very nice. I know the box says 13.5 on the picture, but 17.5 on the sticker. So this is a 17.5. The rotor is very, very nice. I like the little cooling fan that Hobbywing is adding to the front of the rotor, which you can see right here on the right-hand side. Something that I found interesting is the measurements are good. I mean, they are close enough. So it's about 12.5 by 25 point, I forget if it's supposed to be 25 or 50. But something I found interesting, later on I'll speak about it, is this rotor is the same, it's supposed to be the same rotor as the 21.5 that I tested, but this one had more gauss, and I found it interesting. Part of me wants to put this rotor in that 21.5 because it's the same part number, and they're roar-proof motors. But let's see, as far as KVs, the motor did well. I would say in general it did outperform the regular G4, and once I go into the data table, you will see the numbers. It'll be clear. So for similar amp draw, it does produce more KVs. Now, when it comes to amps, people will say a variety of numbers for the sweet spot, but it really depends on the gearing and the surface that you're running. But somewhere between 4.5, 5 amps is pretty good. Once you get close to 6 amps, it's just way too much heat. You need some really massive cooling, especially if you're going to be doing a 5-minute race, for example, and if the weather's hot. So these are some of the things to consider. So if you see me generally shoot for that 4.55, that's the reason why. And if you're new to the channel, if you go back to some of my old videos, I tested a G4R. Great motor. I love that motor. A 25.5. I purposely overtimed it to burn the motor out, and I was surprised how much heat it took to actually fry that motor. So I do really like Hobbywing. If you've seen many of my videos, Phantom and Hobbywing are two of the motors that I really do like, but there are a lot of other great motors. For example, Team Power's V5S is also very good. But let's go to the data table. Now, this is something that I found interesting for the G4R. So if we look at the 17.5, but let's look at gauss first. This is the rotor. Now, I didn't finish the notation, but the notation is the same, so I'm missing the little asterisks. But if we look at this part number and we look at this part number, they're the same. Right? I'm just missing the notation. Same. But this one, the one that I tested, this one, as far as gauss, this is 1634 and 1658. So let's just say it's about 1645 for the purposes of this. We're just going to average it out, and I'm just doing that quickly in my head. But if we compare the other one was 1583, 1582. That's a big difference. We're looking at about 60 gauss difference on average. And I'm wondering why there's a 60 gauss difference. It's interesting. Almost makes me want to swap out the motor off the 17.5 into the 21.5. I think that would be a nice little swap. Now, some of the resistance that I tried measuring, if we look at A to B, B to C, C to A, I mean, it holds its own. It's higher than the Team Powers than the V5S. This is the better reading for 17.5. These are the only two 17.5s that I have here for now. But it still performs very well despite that. And we'll go here. So here we go. G4R 17.5. And the numbers, we want to look at this 43 and 45. I think these are ideal, somewhere within this range. 47, you're looking at 5.7 amp draw. It's really going to drain your battery, and there's going to be a lot of heat. I don't think the trade-off between heat and RPM is really worth it, because the difference here, it's less than 100 kV per volt, so revolutions per volt, and it's not quite an entire amp, but it's 0.8 amps. That's a significant amount for the little gain. a small amount of gain that we got. But somewhere between here would be ideal. So now if we look at, say, 44 degrees, because we have 44 on the G4, regular G4, the G4R, the KV is significantly more. Now, there is a Gauss difference between the two. This one, the G4, has a stronger magnet versus the G4R. But despite that stronger magnet, the amp draw is the same. So we have the same amp draw about, let's just say, right? And this is 3045 versus 3245. So this is 200 kV more for slightly less amp draw. That is a significant difference for me. I would take the 200 kV over the difference in Gauss, because I can always make up a little for it in gearing, but I don't think I will need to. And here's the other one. So there's about a 30 Gauss average difference between the two. So between having 30 Gauss but 200 kV less, I would rather have 30 less Gauss, and in this case, and 200 kV more, because 200 kV, we're looking at over 1400 RPM once everything's said and done. I mean, if your battery, if you charge it at 8.4, right, we can go through and calculate everything. Once your voltage drops, you're still going to be above 7, which means hopefully you're above 7. You're going to be 1400 RPM faster. So I would take that any day. Now, if we go back to this and see how the G4R holds compared to some of the other ones, it does pretty good. So if we keep in mind that 44 degrees, approximately 4.7 amps, we have a 44 here, Phantom Helix, 4.8, all right, 3298, so this one does have more kV. So if you have a Phantom, I wouldn't sell it to get the G4R, unless you had to for some reason, but I wouldn't worry about it. If I had a G4, I'm not sure, unless you're really competitive or in a really competitive situation, you're probably better off just learning how to tweak your car a little more and how to drive it a little more. I would focus more on that rather than spending the money for a motor, although it is faster. Yeah. I already bought it, but you haven't. But maybe you should consider it. If you have a V5S, I wouldn't trade it. They're too similar. 3153, 4.7. So 31. 53, 3153. About 100 Gauss. Maybe not. I mean, at this point, it's a little closer. But for 200 kV, I would definitely consider it. Well, that being said, thank you very much for watching. I hope this was useful or at least entertaining. Please subscribe if you have not, and I'll catch you in the next one.